Welcome back to the WatchTower Film Podcast, the film review podcast on the Towercast Network.
I think I got chickenpox.
By cinephiles, for cinephiles.
You look like you
and
got
he has chickenpox, so you know.
Wait, does he really?
3 hours till we get infected.
By chickenpox, for chickenpox.
No, definitely not.
No, I got the shot.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't give you the disease. It gives you the dead disease. Not sure you'd get the pox over that, pal.
Nah, I got the chicken moving.
Just wow.
You know, do you remember the day I texted you guys and I'm like, I think my family's sick of me? It's because I said I wanted to play a new game where it's because when I was getting like my shots, I was like, I'm pretty sure this guy gets the same people every day just being like, could I get a shot? And then he has to do it. I'm like, let's give this guy a challenge. I'm going to run around the store and he's going to have to find me. And it'll be like a fun like game, like, you know, the most dangerous game.
Yeah.
We're back to talk about cinema and not the chickenpox.
Yes, we are.
But I got
Stop
a chicken.
scratching.
But
Scratching
it's one-
spreads
it's
out.
one-
Just rub against something.
Last time I rubbed
So
one
is that your
out.
solution to itchiness? Just rub.
Yeah,
Just
bro.
everybody rub.
Just
That's why Gus is not allowed near school.
Yeah.
playground.
He
That's
kept,
what
he kept rubbing.
He
playground.
just kept rubbing himself on the monkey bars. I got chicken pox.
It's that friction, bro.
We're back. This is episode 2 of our foreign language cinema month.
Second one.
Very cool stuff so far, and a couple more ahead that we're very excited about too.
Bilingual, fourlingual.
You should work for Duolingo, or what is it? Is it Duolingo?
No,
Lingo.
the owl is dead.
I subscribe
that
to
mean?
it.
No, he's back. Now he's just like angry at you for not like studying.
What?
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, like that. They like.
Was that just a whole like campaign?
Yeah, dude.
Hell of a cappuccino, Lalo.
Thanks, man.
That's crazy. It's a latte.
It's a
It's a
cappuccino.
cappuccino.
I know what cappuccino is.
Hey, listen here, bud.
Yeah. Me, you,
this.
me,
I
you.
know this.
Yeah, me and you.
Today,
Prove it.
What are we looking at?
we continue our foreign cinema month with a Polish pick. Before I introduce the film, I got to introduce my fellow co-host, Mr. John Eric Gossett, offering an acting perspective.
How you guys doing? You're going to be very interested in my rating for this
No,
film.
man, you weren't happy at the screening at all.
But I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people that agree with me, so. Let's
In
get
this-
it.
In this room or online?
Mr.
Online for sure.
Michael Lala offering a cinematographer perspective.
I was so under caffeinated going into this film.
And now are you caffeinated and freshly masturbated?
I can feel the
Mr.
warmth.
Austin Young, make sure we're sounding good on the ones and twos back there.
And
Oh,
looking
also-
good because I'm by myself.
Offering a producing, editing perspective. And yeah, we are missing Mr. Eric C.K. Nunez.
Where you at, CK?
Where you at, though? He's chilling on a beach in Mexico. I'm not even bullshitting right
I'm
now.
jelly sandwich right now.
For real.
Beach in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in Tulum.
He's in the pyramids.
What?
And last but not least, our humble film servant. And everybody has to say one thing they like about him, Carlos and De La Torre.
stopped using humble because you guys talk so much shit.
I like that he's tall.
I'll take it.
I like
Oh, he's got to think about this? God
no.
damn, bro.
I'm trying to think of something we haven't said.
I never said that. Like
You know what I was thinking of the other day? I was
were you
thinking
thinking of?
about you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's too much,
And,
bro.
and I
That's
was
way
thinking
too
about
much.
those custom pop figures that you can order.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, like, I really hope they have one that's just, like, too tall. Like, it's
Sticks out of
pushing.
the box.
Yeah, it's sticking out of the box. And I was like, that could be you.
I'm not that tall. I think Austin's taller than me.
Nah, who gives a shit?
Like by half an inch or so, but
Hey, Austin, you're winning by half an inch.
you're a winner.
Yeah.
Story of
Sandra
my
and I
life.
tried to do that. So at the Hollywood Funko Pop store, you can get your custom pop made there.
Ah, that is pretty
But you have to do it by like appointment. It was like we couldn't do it, or I think they were closed the day we went. Like they closed that section and they only open it for certain days. So we got to tour the pop factory, but we couldn't do that.
Oh, it's the same thing
pretty
when
lame.
I went to a place in Dallas that like sold Legos, and you could get like a custom one. And we were trying to get one for my brother, but
Was it Legoland?
no,
No.
I don't
maybe.
think he's allowed in there.
Oh, there's a Legoland
Yeah.
in Dallas actually.
No, but it was like a Lego store in the Grapevine Mall,
yeah.
and they had a section where you could build your own. But like,
That,
yeah, it was an
that mall
appointment thing.
freaks me out, dude. It's so cool, but it's not a traditional mall that you have like
It's donut.
stairs. Yeah, it's just a big circle that you don't feel you're going up or down.
It's donut.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
You focus on the donut, not the
elevating
hole.
in levels, but you don't feel it because it's just like slightly elevating, as opposed to going like up an escalator or an elevator.
Oh, that's weird.
This mod does like a circle thing. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Just kind of funky.
The one thing I appreciate about Carlos is how he appreciates cinema.
Oh,
That's gay.
And, wait. And to piggyback off that, well, you already said we're doing our foreign month, but curated by you.
curated by me. I'm very glad you guys let me pick these films this month. Before we get into the film, though, quick shout out to Adrian Wolf. Our boy Adrian has been looking at our podcast and said, "Man, like I've held on to shut the fuck up, Austin. I've held on to this jacket for years. I found it in a thrift shop years ago, and like just kept it for the right thing. And when we were shooting our film recently here in the studio, he came by and he said, I got a gift for you guys. And I was like, what do you have a gift for us for? And he just came and said, like, you guys are like one of the best production companies I've ever worked with, and like love you guys, and like you guys are awesome, and you're film nerds.
That's mad
so
great.
you get a kick out of this. And this is an actual El Paso Film Commission jacket from the 90s.
Nice.
That like he just had in his closet and was like, I figured you guys
empty.
would appreciate this. I couldn't, like, I lost my mind. It was so cool.
That is
So I was like, we're gonna make it part of the set deck, man. We're gonna put it in the podcast set, and yeah, here it is.
The set
So
is getting
shout out
better and
Adrian
better.
Wolf, Mr. Wolf.
Quick note on like our decorations. I never realized that the slate had like just random numbers. Like
That
slate
director's a piece of shit. He's got 72 takes.
I know.
The 81st roll.
Like,
I love it.
Jeez, like what's wrong?
I don't know.
Who hurt you?
Fairly certain I just got that at like a Hobby Lobby or something.
probably
72
Finch.
takes.
It's probably Fincher.
Okay. Quick, like deviation. Then we'll get back to the film. What's going on in your head if you're getting past like 10 takes? Like is it their fault?
You just must be going for something very, very specific. Or it's the type of thing that is a lot of moving parts in the sequence, where if one of these moving parts
I
isn't
definitely
working
see that.
properly,
Yeah,
like it
but
doesn't just have to be like two actors talking. It could be that the bartender in the back has to swipe the table this way, and that moves the camera to whatever. Like it could just be a set of events.
I just feel like at a certain point in time, when do you say, let's not roll on it, let's do our rehearsals, let's nail it out.
That's the fear, though, right? Especially if you've done so many takes.
Yeah.
That like if you get the rehearsal and you get it right in the rehearsal and you didn't get that take,
Yeah.
or you didn't film that rehearsal.
I always remember with Marty Scorsese and Jonah Hill.
Oh yeah, where he just like
kept
made
telling
him
him-
read the newspaper.
Yeah, he kept telling him, like, do it again. It was like, all right, no, I have to switch up my whole. Let's come read the newspaper with me. Get out of your head.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
He
Did like 5 more
literally
takes.
made everybody take 5, and he just sat at Video Village of Jonah Hill and was just like reading the paper, and Jonah was just like,
And it was just
and then
random to get out of his
naturally
head.
like he just started relaxing, and then Marty was like, "You ready to go again, kid?" And then he got the take like after that, like immediately. And
Really?
Jonah's like, I don't know what this Jedi mind trickery is, but he knew exactly what he was doing by doing that. And yeah, they got
That's what
the
I think when I see a lot of takes. It's like, could have been like something like that. A little situation
Well,
where you gotta get
I mean,
the actor.
as an actor, like I'm pretty sure that stresses you the hell out, right? Like if you're at take 10, or do you feel like
The only thing that stresses me out is I'm disappointing the director. But I gotta get off of that. It's like, all right, no, I gotta take direction. Like he's giving me it. Let's do it. But
worst
that's the
thing
only
you
thing
can
that's
do
in my head.
is get into your head about it.
Yeah.
On both. I think on the director and the actor. And I think when it's multiple actors too, that's kind of like everybody's looking at each other pointing the finger probably.
Yeah, exactly.
But I promise you that as a director, it's never really about that. It's usually that you're seeing the film in your head and you're thinking, he didn't smirk the way I needed him to.
Exactly.
Or oh, the fan went off or whatever. Like it's just like a very specific thing. But rarely does that ever happen. I think David Fincher gets a lot of takes just so that he has more to play with in the editing bay. And I genuinely think that's what it is.
And as an actor, I like that because sometimes I don't want to go home like, I could have done that. No, I did it 20 times.
Got it all out.
Yeah, that's best I could have done it.
Yeah.
Instead of
That's
5
fair.
takes.
I think that's just playing a weird devil's advocate that would
Yeah,
drive me
for
crazy
sure.
in the editing bay.
I've
Like, there's
learned
so
that.
many choices, and it's just like, no, if I know what I'm doing and I want to go for that specific thing, I better go for it. And I got 3 takes. or
And I'm
whatever,
learning that too, yeah.
You know?
Some directors just want.
Oh my god! It's just I feel like even like let's say for those like master oneers or something like that, right? Like the establishing oneers where it's just like let's say a dolly back through a large crowd, all doing different things. Then you think like okay, let's try one where everybody's going crazy, one where everything's more subdued, and then one that's kind of in the middle. And then
I think our brains as indie filmmakers fucks with us a little bit because in Hollywood they if you have a big budget, I think a lot about Babylon in these scenarios and the big party scene with a fucking elephant coming through the thing.
Imagine that.
And then you think, how the fuck? What if one of the extras fucked it up? Or what? You think about that as indie filmmakers, and then you don't realize that they shoot fucking 2 pages a day because they have the money. So they're in costumes for 3 weeks at a peak, just trying to get this one scene. So they have the time to kind of stretch it out and figure it out. I think us as indie filmmakers are like, we don't have the time, we don't have the money, we got to figure this shit out now.
I just think like at number 70, like at 24, like at that point I feel like what are we missing that?
You never know with the director. I always also think of American Psycho when they make Willem Dafoe do one of each take like differently, just to we don't know what we're gonna do in the editing room, so we're gonna make this guy do it 3 times, 3 different ways.
Yeah, if you ever see me, and every director's different. Again, to me, it's just like a weird. It's almost like a self-sabotage thing for me. It's like when I know I got it, I know I got it. I'll get one more for safety, and then we're moving on. Because at that point, it's like if you ever see me get a lot of takes, it's because there was a camera bump, the actor missed their mark. Like it wasn't because I'm just trying to feel it out. No, I don't have time to feel it out. We got to get this shit because there's X amount of scenes left in the day or whatever. So like I don't get a lot of takes.
But you don't think that's a little bit not bad, but
it's like self-sabotaging to an extent. But like again, I think like in
understandable.
I think in my case, I'm just looking for like the right inflection with the actor. I'm making sure, and again, a lot of this is done in pre. Like we do so many test shoots, we do so many rehearsals you better hope that by the time you get to the set, you're good to go.
Yeah, I've always been a bit.
I would hope so. I would hope that that's the case.
I just feel like at the end of the day, like if we're already hitting like let's say we're getting a lot of camera bumps or you're not getting what you want out of the actor and all that. Yeah. There's a moment of saying like, okay, let's just pause, breathe, and like
it's necessary.
Yeah. Let's rehearse it. Let's see where we're kind of gelling before we get back into another take, as opposed to like let's just roll everything and let's just keep going, and every micro adjustment is going to be a take, and it's like
do you guys remember the scene in Back to the Future 3 where like he has this huge contraption in his workshop and it's like this has to do this so that this can do this, and then it comes out with 2 cubes of ice? I think that's what filmmaking is. Like you better hope that the machinery works before you set it off to make the ice, because you get one shot at this. And I think every take is precious, and like you can't recreate after 5 takes. You're not going to recreate the magic. Like there's a certain magic that you have to capture. So like for me, every take is like I'll spend extra time in between takes to make sure we're good, so that by the time we're getting the take, I don't have to spend that extra time on the take. That's
why I'm scared of taking that jump, dude. I think I'm going to be that dictator director where I'm 100 takes in, I'm like, I still don't see what I want. That's why I'm kind of scared.
At that point, you might have to ask yourself, genuinely, did I get the right DP? Did I get the right actor? Did I get
that is so true.
At that point, it's like, if I'm not seeing what I want, I didn't see it I didn't see it in rehearsals, and I didn't see it in prep. Like I was hoping for the best, and you don't want to go into the film like that. You have to like know, I got the right actors, I got the right DP, I got the you have to know.
And you have to kind of accept that, oh, well, we just need to trust it for this and then move on.
Oh, man, I've always been scared of that. But yeah.
And, unless it's like the elements working against you or something, like the rain, whatever.
It's nature.
Anyways.
We're filmmakers.
We're here to talk about Andrzej Wajda's Ashes and Diamonds, 1958. This film just really blew my hair back when I first screened it. I'm willing to bet it was over the pandemic. And like I told you guys in the last episode, and I'd say you guys, like the audience, don't be afraid to go look up, like, IndieWire releases these lists all the time of like 52 films James Cameron wants you to watch, or, and I remember getting obsessed with the Sight and Sound poll and then kind of seeing how directors vote and how the critics vote, and then getting to a point where like Marty listed his favorite films.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, well, if I'm going to try to deep dive into foreign cinema or classic cinema, I'll start there. That was like my starting point. What are Scorsese's top 10 favorite films?
Your idol, yeah.
And I think I'm only missing one off the list that I haven't seen.
Oh, wow.
Which one?
The Leopard.
Ooh.
The Leopard.
I haven't seen The Leopard, but I've seen. I mean, his Scorsese's list is made up of 8.5, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Ashes and Diamonds, The Red Shoes. I forget. There's
Has he
10.
talked about why he liked this one so much, or what made?
Yeah,
put
well,
this one in?
he's talked about it like.
Because I'm interested. Cause, you know, I'm more of the new era. I kind of.
I'm gonna tell you what his most recent conversation was about this film, and it was when they were promoting Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay, recently.
And they just went on Letterboxd, him and Leo over Zoom.
Nice.
And started talking about Letterboxd will make you pick your 4 favorite films, and then you talk about your 4 favorite films. So they just went on Letterboxd and said, "Fuck that! We're just gonna talk about the films that we love." So like literally, Leo was like, "You remember I screened the Pixar films for you, and like I screened Toy Story for you," and Marty's like, "Yeah, I remember." And, like they would talk about that, and then it got to a point where it's like, "Oh yeah, Ashes and Diamonds. You remember Ashes and Diamonds? I screened it for you when we did The Departed." And then you think about The Departed, and then you think about this. You think about Leo's character in The Departed, and how you want him to win. You're rooting for him. He's the righteous character, but is he? And he's part of the system. He's part of this kind of broken system, and that's kind of how the character we're rooting for in this is. And it's like, well, what? The only righteous character that makes it out is Wahlberg's character in The Departed, right? So, are you really rooting for that guy though? Not really.
Not really.
Like it's kind of like whatever. But Leo's characters, where it's like this regime ends, like this whole thing. Everybody that was involved in this bullshit catastrophe of a situation, they're gone. Fuck it. Wash away the sins and start anew. And I think that's solely inspired by Ashes and Diamonds. Don't get me wrong, The Departed was like inspired by like Infernal Affairs and a bunch of films, but Ashes and Diamonds, I think for Leo's character specifically, is huge. But that's the big thing I've heard him talk about. Scorsese, when he's talking about foreign cinema, he talks a lot about being in New York, and you know, he was a kid with asthma. He couldn't go out and play, and so his parents would just either take him to the movies a lot or let him watch movies that they would rerun on TV. So a lot of classic cinema, he would screen on a little TV in his apartment in New York, in Little Italy. And Ashes and Diamonds, a lot of these films, he was discovering the world through cinema. So Polish cinema, again, it was another side of the world he just had never experienced. So that's, I think, his experience with like...
Because this is my experience, my first experience with a Polish film. And
Yeah.
I'm still trying to flirt with it in my head.
John Renard did a film called The River that was like Indian cinema, the Apu trilogy, Ashes and Diamonds.
yeah.
These are, if you notice Scorsese's favorites list, 8.5, Italian neorealism. John Renard is a British filmmaker doing Indian cinema. Satyajit Ray's Apu trilogy, specifically Apur Sansar. And then you have Polish cinema, Ashes and Diamonds. So like you go through the levels of like just different countries and different cultures and portraying that through cinema.
Right.
In the time where it was so new, because nobody was exploring these themes. But what's interesting about Scorsese's trajectory and him studying these films is they're mostly war films, because that's just what it was. The Italian neorealist movement of like Roberto Rossellini's War trilogy, Ashes and Diamonds, like all these war films were shaping the world, and he got to be a part of that. So, but when I saw Ashes and Diamonds, I remember trying to show it to anybody who would watch it, and I remember talking to Ricky specifically about like, can you screen this? Because it felt like a modern piece. It felt like a modern piece on how advanced they were with the camera movements. The performances for me were like phenomenal. I can't pronounce his name, I'm sure, but the guy that plays Maciek, which is my favorite character.
Yeah, the main guy.
He's like, he could have been what's that guy from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Plays the cowboy opposite Leo. Leo's the heavy, and then this guy's like Lancer.
Like in the movie set?
He's a big actor. He's a big name. He plays Lancer on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Or he plays the actor that plays Lancer. But anyways, I feel like this actor could be that. Timothy Oliphant. Like, look at those two dudes. They look like very alike. And like they could be the same brand of actor. You know what I'm saying? Like, this
guess
guy
so.
to me just came out of, like, he could be modern Hollywood, and I'd believe it if they made this in 2025 and they made it a period piece about post-World War II Poland. He just felt timeless to me. And a lot of these actors just felt timeless to me. And the performances, again, were just so on point. The camera movements were so on point. Everything was just about this film, just like, this is when they made this in 1958. This does not feel like a 1958 picture. They just, like, were innovating in a way where I hadn't seen. Again, I was, like, so obsessed at the time with, like, 1950s musicals and 1940s melodrama and, like, all these films. And then you get to Ashes and Diamonds and you're like, man, the Poles were doing it better than we were at the time. Why didn't nobody pay attention to something like Ashes and Diamonds? So
here's my weird take on it.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm a little bit more on the newer stuff. I felt like it was slow paced and it lingered more on the mood instead of the plot momentum.
oh, but that's the point.
I never experienced that. Tell me another movie that's like that. I've never.
Exactly though, right? Like if I can focus all my energy on, because it's not, the war is over,
right?
You know, we're in the rubble of the war, and these two characters still have to find a life post-war, but they're still in the battle of their own politically. What side of this political battle are you on?
Exactly.
They have strong beliefs of what they were fighting for in the war, and just because the war's over doesn't mean that the politics stop. So, like, to me, it's like, how can I depict the emotion of these two assassins that in their heads they're political heroes? You know, they're doing this for the right side even though the war's over. Mm-hmm. How can I capture that emotion and allow you to sit in it more than, like, driving the plot forward? And that to me is better cinema than plot cinema. And we talked about
I've never tried that.
Seven Samurai being both, right? Driving something forward, exploring a whole, like, plethora of emotions through different characters and what they're going through in war.
But see, with this one, that's another thing I saw.
Yeah.
Besides this character, the other characters didn't have enough of a story or a background to them.
I disagree. I mean, like,
The
even
girl.
the well, yeah, but again, where you place your importance is more important, right? The guy that they're chasing after, the guy that they're trying to kill,
Right.
He had his own history with abandoning his son, the wife dying. I'm gonna go look for my boy. His boy turns out to be on the opposite side that he's fighting on, and he doesn't even know it. You know, you end up finding later that he's arrested, and he's finally going to see his boy, and then he doesn't even get to do that. There's so many layers to this.
Right.
The friend is the one that I think they did a great job on being so subtle, so that you don't figure out that he's going to flip sides, or he's going to,
like that.
You know,
yeah.
He's so unemotional and so detached that she's like, "Fuck it, dude." Anyways, good to see you. I guess we'll never see each other again. And I don't know that we fully ever care about that character. And I think it's with very specific notions. You start. This is really about a guy wanting to explore a different life now that he's not fighting for anything. Maybe he wants to fight for a new life, and by the time he actually strongly considers that, he just can't. I don't know. To me, there's just so much that this film is exploring.
Before we continue on that conversation, can we knock out ratings?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna.
How many?
I'll start with Austin, and we'll just make our way this way.
Sorry, I'm making myself decent back here.
What does that mean?
What were you doing before?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Unholy things.
Yeah, I'm decent now.
Be truthful, man. Don't let these guys bully you into a fucking.
They're
high
not
school.
bullying me into anything. I'd put this at a 9.1.
9.1.
Cap.
What's the?
Yes, I'm wearing a cap.
I will say Austin was the most reactive.
I'm actually wearing a
Screening.
Texas Rangers hat today, Costa.
He is, yeah.
Eric?
Oh, me?
No. I was just saying, like, Austin was the most reactive when it came to this
throughout
film.
the whole film, I heard you saying.
There are reasons, like, what?
Well, are we going to rapid fire it?
Oh, we can.
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, like all these other movies that I've been watching, I think I still need to watch it a couple more times. So I'll give it a 7, just a rapid fire 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
8.8.
8.8.
Carlos?
I'm up there, man. I'm like at a 9.5 with this one. I was thinking, I haven't seen this in maybe like 2 years, maybe more, maybe like 4 years. But I remember thinking, like, going into this podcast and struggling on whether this was going to be a pick for this month, and then thinking, like, at the bare minimum, I'm curious to see if we're gonna have a Walter Mitty effect, and I didn't. Like, to me, it still held up extremely well, and just everything it had going for it for me, it's great. So 9.5. I'm at a 9.5 comfortably.
All right, get your episode, guys.
Thank you for watching the WatchTower Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Be sure to catch our Mormon weekly podcast
next week. We are covering...
I'm trying to put my finger on the main character.
Stop trying to finger the main character and enjoy the movie.
Can we talk about the cinematography?
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
That captured me a lot. Like,
not just the cinematography,
the focal lengths and the blocking, and
but that's what I'm saying. Now you're talking about more than cinematography. I think everything is working in such in tandem, and is such a beautiful marriage when it comes to the cinematography, the blocking, the directing, the performances. And again, most of these sequences are small oneers. They're not. They feel like cuts because of the blocking. They're not cuts. They feel like cuts because you have a character turning their back on camera, and then the camera either moving or the character moving to reposition themselves to a new framing or a new composition. But it's one take. It's one long take. That is not easy to accomplish, especially to get these performances on, to get the focal length there, to get everything's working in tandem for me. But let's start with cinematography and how that's informing things.
It was good. What I think is interesting is that what both of you guys were touching on a little bit, and it's interesting you mentioned like the focal length. Most of the time when I was watching the film, I'm noticing that the perspective was very wide. What's great about a wide angle lens is that not only does it give you a lot to play with, like visually, but that's what Orson Welles really keyed in on when he was doing his cinematography, that you could really empower somebody or you could diminish something. And, in that, because getting closer to the lens gives you one perspective and getting farther away gives you another perspective, that's where you feel these cuts. That's where you would see that. And I noticed it was in this, I almost called it like a V framing, where basically you would always have these angled shots of rooms where the characters could go to each end of the room and you would have the full perspective. But if they went towards the door or further away, then that was its own shot in composition. And then if they came closer to you, we could focus on these one shots, and they weren't split diopter shots. No. I know that it feels that way because
that's it was more of that telephoto situation that we got in Seven Samurai.
No, it's not that either. It's the fact that in the wide aspect ratio, again, you're playing with two different things.
It wasn't a wide aspect ratio.
Not aspect ratio. It was a wide shot.
Yeah,
wide shot, wide focal length. In that, you can compose two subjects. You have your foreground and your background, and the fact that like in the blocking they knew that they wanted moments where actors would come into the foreground and other actors would be performing action in the background. That always made you feel that the split diopter perspective, where having somebody's face really close to the camera and them going through dialogue or listening in on something or doing something, like you could focus on that emotion or that tension, but you could also focus on the background and see a party going on and all that. So it's really interesting to see that the director just, again, always wanted you to see that the characters are not just in themselves. They are very much attached to whatever's going on the outside. I also think that multi-framing aspect, it's something that I've seen a lot in like Wes's work. The fact that like a character can go all the way in the background and be doing something and then come up to the foreground and it's a completely different framing.
Yeah. I think it's a weird lost art, and directors like Wes are keeping it alive. But I think where a lot of innovative filmmakers thought we're driving the technology forward, we're driving how to use the technology forward. The minute something gets better and it's lessening the inconvenience, you get lazy as a storyteller because now you depend on the technology or the better, quote unquote, better use of the technology. Where a lot of these framings and these blockings could arguably be taken from theater and how they block theater.
Yeah.
And again, that's so hard. But when it's like the satisfaction of getting a practical effect versus adding it CGI. The satisfaction of saying I got this in camera, as opposed to using editing or using something to cut, something to manipulate it. It's like, no, I'm not going to depend on these tools because these tools weren't even used like that yet. So I think that's what I appreciate in the cinematography of this is like, we're going to go wide. We're going to see the world for what it is. We're going to add so much texture in the background, and we're going to let these characters live in the world like a play.
Yeah.
But it's not linear or flat. It's not a comic strip. It's using all the space and using the distance from and to camera to really, 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 really like immerse you into this world.
That's what I was saying. These like 30-degree, not the focal length, but like this 30-degree angle where you're getting the camera right in the corner of a room where it's never pointing straight on at anybody. It's always like, how do we get the most depth? The only other framing I can think of that does this really well as an example is a train pulling into a station. That whole idea that like, because of the position you have the camera, you have the entire room to play with, which is not always the best when it comes to these wide establisher shots because though it's angled and it offers a lot of depth, sometimes the wides are better suited straight on because then you get you feel like I've captured everything. Sometimes those like a lot of times when we were in like the rooms, I felt like, oh, we can't see what else is in the room and we didn't get the full perspective of the room. But it's not to establish the room. What that angle's meant to do is establish characters, who's in power, who do we need to focus on, and then in the blocking, we're going to tell this character, I need you to start over here, start the conversation, but then once you're in power, come forward.
I think something we're missing in that equation too is where are these characters emotionally?
Yeah.
One of the big ones you felt is like our villain, if you will.
Yeah.
When he's checking into his room, he's walking in, and he knows that he's looking for a specific family, and he has the phone number. He's gonna make a phone call, and he's pouring himself a drink, and he's like, "I'm not gonna use this cup. I'm gonna pour it into the smaller cup, and I'm gonna drink from this cup." And then he lifts that cup, and then he puts that cup down, and he gets the other cup again, and then he starts. It's his nervousness, and the camera doesn't move. The camera's in the corner, showing him in this closed room. You know, and I think that's just the stage of showing his nervousness. He can't leave. He has to face this. The phone is super big in the frame. The phone is right next to camera.
Yeah.
While he's smaller in camera back here. But as he approaches and what he's deciding to do and where the bottle sits in the frame, I think it's just showing emotionally, like, we think of this guy as, like, the target. And this toughness. And he delivers this monologue to a bunch of workers on death and how the mission isn't over and comrades come together to fulfill your own destiny and to continue the battle. And then he's afraid to call a woman. and again, that speaks so much on
Aren't we all, though?
Aren't we all? And that just speaks so much on a layered character, a character that I would hope at the bare minimum you feel some empathy towards. Barely, minimally. And then as that story progresses and he goes, he visits a woman and, hey, I wrote to you so many times and where's my son? And it starts unraveling itself. And then you start thinking back to that room scene and you're like, oh, that was the weight.
That was the weight.
That was the tension of this scene of deciding whether or not to call. And there's...
Oh, and I'll say similarly, just as those framings bring power to, like you said, the telephone and less power to him and all that can shift just as the actors move around. All that shifts. Once the camera's put in these straight on angles, then that's where we have balance. Like when he was talking to the clerk, you know, in that you
see him in his element.
Yeah,
right?
you see him in his element, and they're just two people talking.
Yeah.
But when the other, like the target was there next to him, the camera's angled again because then there is a power dynamic. Then think
about the bar.
Yeah.
Think about the bar, and the bar is coned in. Right? Most of the shot that we get from the bar is from the entrance of the bar to where the table's on the right, the bar's on the left, and that corner window is like the only breath of fresh air these characters can get when they're coned in. They're almost like trapped. But when you shift perspective to the bar and he's talking to the girl, now we're wide again, now we're centered, now we're leveled. Or when the two drunk guys are they're just drinking at the bar, we're centered, we're leveled. But the minute these two guys say the lines, I have to talk to you about something serious. Pew! Like we're cornered again.
And
That's so
it really
impressive
does inspire me that, I mean, I'd love to now like shoot something where the entire film is only done with one lens, but it's wide because it's something that Wells uses a lot.
Yeah.
But that whole idea of like really honing in on the power shift of perspective with a wide angle lens. Like the just like I said, as easy as instead of needing cuts for everything, just telling your actor in the blocking, you're going to be getting close to the camera, and then you're going to be going away. And those little movements,
without even using that, I think like these two know that I was early in our filmmaking days. I was always using wides to shoot close-ups. I loved how a close-up looked in a 14 millimeter lens, and because you see the world behind in such big scope, moving and shifting, but you see the emotion of the character right up in your grill, and that did something to me. And I didn't know what it meant then. I just knew that I loved how this lens was capturing this performance and still giving you room to see the world in the background.
Yeah.
But I can see how you're saying, like, use it to show all of this, but I couldn't help but think, man, I love how it's capturing close-ups. Yeah. I love how the wide, like it's when they're in the church talking, and this is where he's at his most distraught and charged. Should I tell her who I really am and what I'm really doing? Can I change my world? And you see these close-ups and these emotional moments on both of their perspectives. Yeah, man, I don't know. It felt like taking an ARRI 35 millimeter camera now and then shooting it in 1958 and using these techniques that, again, there's no bells and whistles, and if there is, it's because they were coming up with them. You know what I mean? And it's so fascinating to me.
Also similar to like after the church scene, like I love the shot of and this is more directorial choice, but how he's carrying that flower with him, and as he's running away from the guy who's like going to tell him like, oh dude, you got to go finish the mission, like. You see him constantly trying to like get one last like whiff of the flower, and that whole like notion of like smelling the roses, because even in his interactions with the girl, it's this very much like just dance with me one last time, just have another drink with me, just like hold me, because it's all leading up to like I have to do something I don't want to do, and I just wish I wish more than anything to leave this world. Yeah. But I know it's not that easy. Yeah. You know.
Can we talk about one scene that it's really interesting, because I'm trying to like
decipher it.
Yeah, decipher it. Depict it. Decipher it. The shots, the flaming shots. Was it too on the nose?
I don't think so. The shots
as a visual like metaphor.
No. I mean, because they were literally. I thought that was such a gorgeous thing. Like they're toasting to their dead comrades.
Exactly.
Right? And it's like, how do you extinguish a flame? In this case, a life burnt out on its own, right? If the shot glass is a life or a vessel or a body, and the liquor is fuel, is life.
That's good.
It's burning the life. It's extinguishing it on its own, right? And you don't see them like lighting it and then immediately trying to put it out. They're like, dead comrades, your life is gonna play out, and we're gonna let it play out, and we're gonna toast, and our flame, death. The flame is not extinguishing us yet. Yeah. So we're going to let, in your honor, let that go.
I think thought it was gorgeous. What's even more interesting about that is that they played into the whole song beat in the background. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, there was an audio cue that when the song ended, the last flame on the shot went out.
Yes. Oh,
and such a... like the songs about, like war and passion and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, glory and everything. But after the passion and the glory go, then it all fades.
But again, that's what this film is about. And I didn't really catch it. I think when I first screened it, I was more focused on the longing and the missed opportunity of a new life, and these two people who just met, who we love seeing together, not being able to run away. I genuinely, this is how fucked up my perspective on it was. I genuinely thought they got away. I remember thinking wasn't there a motorcycle scene? There was a motorcycle scene where she hops on and they fuck off. No, that was never the case. So, but again, that's what my memory wanted, I guess. So that's how I remember the film. So when I got to he doesn't die, I remember him riding away with the girl. No, he doesn't fucking. That's what the fucking film is about.
I wanted him to ride away with the girl.
All of us did, but that's the point. He needed to die, so this old regime dies with him.
Exactly. Yeah,
because it's not just his partner gets away, but his partner will more than likely continue to do this forever. In some capacity or another. He was not looking for a new life.
He wasn't struggling.
He was just trying to finish here and go to the next thing.
Exactly.
And this guy was looking for a new life, but the good and the quote unquote bad, and what side of this, political situation you stand on, it won't be done until it's all gone. It's like the fall of an empire.
Yeah.
If it's that type of thing. So like that all goes out with the war. The war's finished. They're in ruins. This city's in ruins. Warsaw's in ruins. And now it's a matter of rebuilding. But you can't rebuild if you have the old regime still existing in some capacity.
I like the ending.
So the fact that he doesn't get away with the girl is kind of a beautiful sentiment. I was reading an essay on it that at first glance, and I'm sure you as an actor, like, the fuck is he doing when he's dying in the field, in the rubble?
I had a lot of thoughts on that.
And he's spasming, and he's crying, and he's weeping like a baby.
Yeah.
The sad imagery of that, the intention is that he's crying like a baby who doesn't make it. Yeah. There's no rebirth. He's not being reborn as a new person to start a new life. He's the kid that the life is getting taken out of. Now he's just part of the rubble of the war. He's part of this part of history. He has to stay here, otherwise history cannot progress.
He's in the ashes.
He is in the ashes. No, and even at the end of one of the essays in here, they're like, there are no ashes, there are no diamonds. We move on.
Yeah. See, that's cool because you see it in the metaphorical way. I see it in the literal sense of it. It's like nobody knows how they're going to react when they die or they get shot. Yeah. Everybody thinks, man, you're going to be like,
whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
at that point.
But I love it. I love it.
But that was the intention with this actor almost taking free reign. We're following him through the rubble, and then he gets in a fetal position to die.
I did notice that.
Then it's just he blends in with the rubble because he's wearing all black, and it's almost like a funeral sense because he's wearing all black. And I don't know, dude. To me, there's just so much. But again, I only caught it in this screening that, it just means that it's almost like the scene in Gangs of New York, the final shot of the cemetery, where it's like, none of this fucking mattered. Like, all of this had to do a way for new New York to come in. And that's what it will have to be for Poland and for Warsaw. Like, these characters have to die for a new wave to come in.
You know what I thought when he was running? And I know I'm going to go all left field. I thought of Tropic Thunder when Ben Stiller's running. It's a little too theatrical, but I guess so, right?
But I think that's what I like about this era of cinema, or at least Polish cinema in this era, is like, we're going to allow the theatrics to live on. I also think it's a miscommunication in the audiences because I think those are just like Polish tendencies. Like, I remember us cracking up in a bunch of the hand gestures and whatever.
Yeah, that's what I
think those are just like a cultural thing.
Yeah.
I would leave it at that. I don't know. But I would leave it at that. I think a lot. But I still like that there's room for the theatrics. I couldn't help but think of like Licorice Pizza. Has everybody seen Licorice Pizza?
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think of Licorice Pizza when like the director guy comes into the bar.
Yeah.
Camera A, camera B. And that's how the musical director was like, are you an artist? A minor. And you go on, and he's almost directing them, but he's making them play a wedding march.
Yeah.
And the wedding march is like everybody in twos, everybody in couples, and the couple we want to see doing this can't. Like, it's just like this sad wedding march, but is it a celebration for Poland truly? I mean, yeah, historically it is.
Because he does it with the flag, no? Or with the,
yeah. But for the characters that we're rooting for, it's like, no, this is bigger than those two. Like, in order for the big picture to move forward, these two can't make it.
Yeah.
And
damn.
I don't know, man. That's powerful. It's just, to me, it's super powerful.
I think it's also... I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's really impressive to see that all of what's transpiring is coming from this very like cold open two dudes just like, hey, let's get ready. Girl comes up, get out of here, and then like seeing the guns, them gunning him down, and then that kicks off the like, oh, we made a mistake, and like, is it worth it, and like, how is that going to be remembered? And then being like, also the aftermath of like seeing the family affected, where at first it's just a woman screaming by the window, and then later on it's like, oh, that's like her love that she's never gonna get to experience life with.
Oh gosh, I love that. Like it starts sprinkling stuff like that in there, and then you get to the church scene, and I remember like I don't know if it was, I think it was Costa was like, is that like Jesus? Which is this, right? This is the imagery.
Oh yeah.
So is that Jesus? And it's like, yeah, but he's all distraught and he's upside down, and typically that means like chaos or anarchy, and in a sense it is, right? It's a destroyed church because they didn't even have enough reverence for a church. War said, fuck it. Like, we're going to destroy everything. It's war. No, all is fair, right? And you almost see, like, this Christ figure, and it's like, was it ever beautiful? Because I don't see the beauty in this church or in this, like, Christ figure the way it's set up. And that's because war is terrible and horrible and ugly. And these are the results of it. But this is the most romantic we see them. This is where they're really talking about something real and really connecting as people and getting to know each other. And then they walk in, and it's like almost an interruption, like life saying, like, no, you fucking killed people. You're going to walk into the room, and you're going to see these dead bodies, and you're going to be reminded that you fucking killed people. You don't get the girl. You fucked up, too. It's to me, it's just like meet cute, great romantic situation. We're walking through this horrible situation of a church post-war, but there's still some romanticism in there. We're going to read the poem that inspires the title, by the way, that's engraved in the wall in the crypt, and he knows the poem by heart.
I love that scene.
And then,
trying to read it.
You killed some people, motherfucker. Remember, like, you don't get away from this. It's just life. I don't know. It's just like a very karma-driven, or whatever you believe in, just like the universe coming around to be like, yo, need I remind you, you killed some fucking people.
And seeing the character develop, where at the very beginning, he's almost kind of like, doing a job, and then, shoots the people. And it's like, cool. Man, I guess, hey, we missed him, but don't worry. Guess what? By coincidence, he's right by me. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. And then as time goes on, it's almost like time left by yourself is the most painful thing, because then you're able to actually think about things. You're able to think about like where all this is going, what it means, what you mean in the grand scheme of everything, recognizing that, the two that he killed, like, was it worth it? And then talking to his friend / superior at the end, and it's like, oh, how are you talking to me, as your superior, like officer, or as your friend? It's like, what do you mean? And it's like, because
I have a response for either, but the one that matters right now is that I'm your commanding officer. When I first screened the film, that was the most fascinating thing about me. Obviously, like, about this, it was the surface level of like the character. Imagine the character development of an assassin, and we think it's so common because of how many times they've used this fucking story of like, oh, me killer, no wanna be killer no more. And it's no, that started here, man. Like, this is where they really explored it and really fine-tuned like a character arc like this, but in a very organic, emotional way. And now we see it in like every spy film, every assassin film. I think about like even like the Killers, the Ashton Kutcher.
Cameron Diaz one?
It's not Cameron Diaz. It's the girl from Knocked Up.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. He's an assassin for a government operation, meets a girl, falls in love, and then like wants to leave that life, and then the life comes back and catches up to him, and now everybody wants to kill him because he has a number on his head, and it's like, this was done so much more tastefully in 1958.
I mean, you see it all the time now with like, what is it called?
You got it.
No, they just made the Equalizer. You see, like, the Equalizer,
absolutely,
with John Wick. It's all these like characters that are like, I did that because I had to. Now I just want to live a normal life. Can I live a normal life? And it's like, you can never live a normal life. You have to do this now.
Like the Transporter,
the Beekeeper.
Talking about
I never saw the Beekeeper. But
any movie with that actor,
Jason Statham.
But you see what I mean? Like, now it's taken and like just muddled into another.
Yeah, let's make him a beekeeper.
Yeah. Yes. But this was like genuinely post-war. Two soldiers who were on this side of the war want to end this regime forever and kill what the remainder, like the remaining people who like fucked up their country and then it's like, no, but you also were like an assassin, dude. You don't get to live a normal life. You don't get to walk out of this the hero.
Don't you feel like the film kind of plays with your mind a little bit though? Because like I had a moment like when he finally does kill him, like I know practically the fireworks that go off is what like covers the gunfire, but like I don't know, maybe I'm an idiot, but I felt also like the fireworks were also like a relief for him, because he stands there for a second like observing like I did this, and then the fireworks start going off, almost like he's like, oh, I can start my new life now.
No, you're not wrong. I don't think it messes with you. If anything, I don't think it was a relief as much as it was like a very serendipitous coincidence.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
I also feel like he
Like,
did it, but you don't see him like relax
Celebrating
after.
or celebrating.
You hear the bangs, and like I mean, the bangs we just heard were gunshots.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the bangs keep repeating.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's almost like it's echoing the you did it again, you killed somebody again. Like that's the new problem. And then he just had that conversation before, like, I'm tired of being like killing and then being on the run. Like I just want to stop this. And you did it again.
I like the idea of like, I don't know how often, I don't know if you guys remind me, maybe in more modern pictures we definitely see it. I don't remember off the top of my head. Seeing the wild card hothead have an arc. I don't feel like we see that anymore. And if we do, and it's in a weird like sidekick buddy, like he's the wild card who kind of like settles down and simmers. In this scenario, that's our lead. Like the renegade killer who doesn't feel a thing, like he's here to do a job. And then you genuinely follow him through this arc of like, I don't want this anymore. Usually those guys are the sidekicks.
I was expecting him to be the sidekick for sure. I was expecting him to be more of the, like, not comic relief or anything, but yeah, the character that's just like, yeah, I'm just going to do whatever you say and see where this all goes. And if I die doing it, then I die doing it. I never expected it to be like that whole like thing where he's goofy he just killed people, but he wants to still flirt with a waitress and all that. It felt very Pulp Fiction-y where it's just like, his mind's elsewhere, even though his occupation says he needs to be a serious killer. So
I think a lot about like Mean Streets. Has everybody seen Mean Streets?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about it later this year. But
well, I'm glad you think about it.
Huh?
How often do you think about the Roman Empire, though?
What about the Chang Dynasty?
The Chang Dynasty?
That's racist.
I think it's Chang. But anyways, you were saying.
No, you see that type of character usually be like on the side, like you were saying. So it really didn't feel like you were gonna see like it felt like it was almost gonna be like a side story when this girl comes in, and I mean you see that really was what it was until it wasn't, where her coming to his room was unexpected. It was like, oh no, I was just gonna like flirt and all that, but now I feel this human connection, and I'm getting a glimpse of something that I always wanted, and that's why I'm flirting, and that's why I'm being so forward. But I never expected to be able to actually touch it and feel it. And you know,
he admits later, right? Like, I never knew what love was until now. And at first glance, you're like, come on, dude, because we're such cynics nowadays that it's like, come on, dude, like that's not love. You're just like But back then it was different, especially when you're in a life or death situation and you feel affection and somebody's actually like cares.
Yeah, because we kind of glaze over the whole sex part, and then after that, it's just like, can you just hold me?
Yeah,
and that's such a
an assassin's asking for that.
Yeah, like
a killer,
it's kind of like
killer.
I'm not able to connect with anybody, and right now, this is the only time I'll get that I can just be with somebody and they hold me and I can feel taken care of, because I'm never gonna feel this.
Yeah,
you know, and even like that's when you see him go back, and then it's like when they're gonna split up, he's just like kissing her as much as he can and holding her tight, because it really is like a...
And again, at first glance, you look at this on a performance front and you're like, the fuck was that? When he's like, he's smelling the
flower,
lilacs or whatever it is, and he's smelling them, and then he smells her, and he grabs her and he starts kissing her, and he kisses her, and then he kisses her like ferociously, like passionately, and then he almost just like tosses her like, get away from me, because then I won't do this. Like, you're going to take away the courage I need for the wrong thing. Just, like, move. Just, like, stop loving me, because I need to finish this job. But, like, tosses her aggressively. And it's, like, at first glance, you think the chick's going to get pissed. Like, fuck you. Like, she gets it. Away. Like, just, okay, I get what you're saying. Is this even possible? Do you want this? Do I want this? You're right. I'm just going to walk away. And she accepts being like tossed into the door, and it's just so much, man. Like,
the way he gives her a good old bye bitch.
Oh gosh, yeah, the bye bitch. Yeah, dude. I don't know. That's again, seeing an arc like that in a very humanized way for me. Again, you think a lot about modern films and how they've taken that and kind of almost thrown it into like rom-coms or whatever, but not this. This is such a humanized thing because you understand the stakes. You understand that the war's just finished and everything's just such in destruction. And tell me of another film that you can think of that depicts Poland, the place that was fucking overtaken by German military for a long time in a very, very, like, very bad way, where to the point where you can still visit concentration camps in Poland because that's where it all took place.
Yeah.
Tell me of another film that you can think of that depicts post-war Poland, fresh post-war Poland. I can't think of one because
Isn't The Pianist Polish?
Yeah, but it's not post-war.
Yeah, it is.
It's during the war.
I guess.
Yeah, like
it's during up until Russia comes in and is there to like.
But in this case, it's the film literally starts the day the war ends.
Yeah,
that's where the film starts in this scenario, and it's like, what now?
Yeah,
and everybody in Poland, like all these in Warsaw, they're just like celebrating, and we made it through. But the new regime is like, hey, now's the time to like not fuck around. Let's make this place communist because that's the way of life now, and that's what we should do. And these other guys are like, fuck you, I just fought for this shit, and like all my comrades died, and no, fuck you, we're gonna fight for the right thing. And it's like, who's right, who's wrong? I'm gonna dance. And again, which side of this whole kind of mess do you get to be? Imagine like our city being bombed and going through so much turmoil for 5 years, and then it's all over now. That was a way of life that you got used to, and you made it out. Now what? Do I dance? Do I fight? You don't even know what to do with yourself anymore. Do I go to a church? Oh, it's fucking destroyed. The most sensible thing you can do is like, I'm gonna go work for the cement plant, I guess. And then like, how many more deaths are we gonna experience just by working in a cement plant? Like, it's just crazy, man. I think about that a lot, and like, Americans don't rarely ever get to experience that because none of the fighting goes on here.
You can only imagine.
But that just puts me in a place of like, what would you do if you're an ex-military guy? If you're in the Civil War, which I think is the closest thing that we could like relate it to. If I'm fighting for the Union and the Confederacy's over there and Lincoln is shot and the war is over, what now? Like, can I still own slaves? Should I not do that? Well, that wasn't right. Should I go make peace with those guys? Do I get my 40 acres and a mule? Like, just window shopping. What do we do with, like, what's that Will Ferrell thing? What do I do? I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, that's what this film's about, is like, which piece of this pie do you belong to? Because nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. I'm just going to stay out and drink till like 3 a.m. till sunrise because I don't know what else to do with myself.
It's a scary feeling. I can imagine. Man. Yeah.
This film's exploring so much. Were you raising your hand? Oh.
You go to the restroom if you want.
Any other thoughts before we close out?
I don't know if I should change.
Why do you keep looking at me?
Well, fuck, I can't. The cameras are right here, bruh. It's not just about you.
Bruh.
What if I want it to be about me?
I guess it's just you and me now. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, you guys make a lot of sense. I'm just so new school. I got to get in touch with my old school films.
That's what this month's about.
You know, I'm trying to like put my finger on, not in, okay?
Whoa, hey.
Magic?
Yeah, man, I don't know his character. He seems like he was very like a physical
actor.
Yeah, like, but
do you mean his character or do you mean the actor?
I guess the way he was playing the character. It just seemed like he couldn't settle down in his body, kind of like overthinking.
But isn't that like inside coming out?
Yeah.
I don't think the focus I don't think you should try to put your finger on him. You won't be able to. That internal discourse of like his internal struggle on what I want out of life and who I really am, and this is all I've known for so long, and I think it's so interesting that when he's talking to the other guy, the hotel clerk guy, and they're having a discussion about cigarettes. And he's like, American or Hungarian? He's like, oh, Hungarian because they're stronger. Like, I need to feel. I need the... And he's like, can do you want to share a cigarette? And he's like, no, those are too strong for me. That's not the life I lead. Even that is very telling about his character. Like, you know, I need the pungent thing. I need the thing that makes me feel something.
What about the glasses? I feel like that's kind of like...
that's explained. That's explained. That's more of a logistical thing than it is a emotional thing. So Andrzej Wajda did... This is part of a trilogy, an unofficial war trilogy. One of the films talks about... It's called Canal. And it's about literally... soldiers in the resistance like being in sewers during the uprising, that's what his character was. He spent so much time in sewers where it's dark that any light bothers him because he's not used to the light. He spent so much time in the dark that going out into the sunlight or city lights or street lights bother him. So that's why he wears the sunglasses.
Oh, see, I was thinking it's more of like a... I don't know, like a mask.
It is. He explains that in the bed scene. Like, maybe that's not even what it's really about. Maybe it's just like a me thing. Like, he does explore, like, maybe I'm just full of shit. Maybe it's just like,
I couldn't put my finger on his character.
You're not supposed to. He's going through so much that he doesn't even know who the fuck he is. Why should you? You know?
So talking about, I don't know. I'll probably 7.1. I'll probably raise it up.
I get a point one up.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to really pinch it out, Castro.
Trust me, man. This is only my second screening or so. I think my second screening, and it takes a lot, man. It takes a lot to really sit with this one. And
I mean, like, I feel like you kind of hit it on the nose at the beginning of the podcast, but the more you chew over it, the more you can look at every character and see what they're going through and what life is. And I mean, like, you see transition in everybody's life, and you also see this definition of like, what am I holding on to and what can I? Like, even with the guy talking about like his son, it's like the mom character.
It's like the adoptive mom. Like, it's the sister of the mom who died.
Okay, because she's saying like, you know, in our day and age, 17's like basically an adult now. And he's like, oh no, he's only 17. Like, I still have a chance.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he's following the delusion of trying to raise somebody who's past the state of being raised, you know, and that in and of itself is a whole conversation, and people trying to define who's the leader and who's in power, and it's like, oh, Mr. Mayor, and it's like, oh, I mean, Mr. Like ambassador, minister, and it's this weird thing of everybody's transitioning into the next chapter and whatever that means.
Exactly. How, dude? Even those people. They're having this fancy dinner party in these four walls that are fancy as fuck because they set place settings in a big ass table, fancy, nice glass champagne. You walk outside and it's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
But your fancy little dinner table means something. Like, no, dude, you know what just happened around you? There's so much to say about that classist like situation too. Like, oh, don't worry, everything's okay, and we're gonna rebuild this, and we'll make it right this time. And it's like, dude, you walk 10 feet in that direction and there's a burnt church. Like, what are you celebrating? What is this? Like, use this money towards building this. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, you got to take into the psychological that what they just went through, right?
No,
but they just want to feel good.
It's also all these.
But they're not doing that. They think they won.
Psychological, man. They
they think they're celebrating. They think like, I'm going from mayor to minister, and we're gonna really reshape this country. And it's like,
hey, man, you don't know what war does to the mind, bro.
No, and even like the whole thing about invitations to the banquet and who's in a lead right now, and it's like, you know, there's people drinking that like, you know, like, God, I'm alive after all that. You know, and in the meantime, there's people like being like, oh, let's celebrate the latest promotion. It's like, what even matters? Like, does this even matter? Like, if
that's why the guy gets drunk with the old guy. They're both invitees to this banquet, and they're just like, fuck it, dude. Like, hey, yeah, you'll be a director one day. Don't worry, you'll get all the money. We'll be fine. We're gonna walk into this party and get the respect of the art. And then this guy's just like, should I just switch sides? This guy's been courting me. Just like, what the fuck is this? I don't care if I get fired anymore. Like,
again, in a city that's just nothing but rubble, what does it matter if you're the mayor or the minister? Like, I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
No,
nothing matters. And you know, everybody's in this weird equal power thing, and it's. I think what's more fascinating is that, going back to like what we were talking about earlier with the cinematography, you know, just as easily as power's there, power can be taken away, and it's constantly shifting. It's constantly shifting that, like, you know, in moments like the whole phone call scene, even though he's supposed to be high and mighty and all that, getting scared over a phone call, like he can be just as powerless as anybody else in that situation.
The pendulum is constantly shifting. The pendulum is constantly swinging.
And that's where you see like the assassin character where stability is just, you can't find it.
It's not an option right now. There's nothing to hold on to. It's all gone.
Yeah. Even finding love, it's kind of like she's like, no, don't kiss me. Don't make me feel like, I'm going to find the romanticism in permanence with you. And
don't like, give me memories that I'm one day going to look back on and be sad about. Like, I don't want you to just be a memory.
Yeah, just let's enjoy whatever this is. Let's leave whatever this is. Yeah. Don't add any more to it. And
that's romantic.
Again, I feel like I can see why so many directors put this on the top list, because there's so many layers everywhere. There's so many characters that have a lot of development and quarrels with themselves, but it all pertains to the center focused story. And you could definitely watch this film like 4 or 5 times and get something different out of it. Not a different meaning, but a different perspective on the whole conversation of like, can a person really like find value in change, or can a person ever really change,
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, while you touched on that, just to mention, like at the time of this recording, today is Francis Ford Coppola's birthday, and this is his favorite film of all time.
Really,
Francis Ford Coppola's favorite film of all time is Ashes and Diamonds.
Wait, isn't that Sophia's father?
It is Sophia's father. Obviously,
and
Marty.
Cage's uncle,
and Jason Schwartzman's
uncle. Anyways, a lot of directors love this film.
That's awesome, though.
Ash and the Diamonds.
Ash and Diamonds.
Diamonds and Ashes.
Next
week,
I hope
changes or
no.
I'll go up to a 9.3.
Oh, stay at an 8.8. I know that it's a 9, but I'm still in the Ashes. Need to find the Diamonds. I just need to give it a couple more watches and let it sit with me. I feel like, again, the challenge, I don't think it's bad to say, but the challenge in watching foreign cinema sometimes is that you really are like trying to translate everything and you're trying to read everything that's going on. But
you don't need to talk out for that.
No. But like it's similar to like when I was telling you guys to watch Ernest and Celestine. I wanted the dub version because I'm like, I need you to see the visuals. Like I need you to see that. And like the first watch, I'm focusing more on like the story and trying to get all that. And later on, once I know what's going on in the scenes, then I can watch it for its visuals because I already know what they're gonna say. So then I can see, oh wow, like that perspective of the character and like the way they look, the way that they express themselves. The way the camera shifted, like I would see moments where the camera would make movements that it would go from being a static shot where you're like, oh, we're just gonna live here. Oh no, the camera is almost like a living thing, following where the energy's at.
But there's times like, they always tell us that a good movie should be able to watch with the sound off. So with foreign pictures, sometimes you're able to just view the beauty of the scene and be able to tell just exactly what's going on just based on the performances and the stories and. You don't necessarily need to know the dialogue to exactly know what's going on.
Yeah, but like the first screening, I think I'm trying to find out what's going on. The second screening, I'll be able to see the visuals, and the third screening, I'll be able to like start adding like my perspective on the whole thing. Like, but it's with each screening that you kind of grow your appreciation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I think I've been pretty. Selective when it came to not just foreign cinema, but a lot of the picks I pick for this podcast, they're not intended to be one-offs, and certainly not like Ashes and Diamonds or Seven Samurai. Despite the fact that they're very quote-unquote palatable films, I was very intentional with that too. Like, these are palatable films. Your dad could watch this and probably follow it and be like, all right, that was pretty cool. This person's following that person, and then there's a change of heart here. Like, it's pretty easy to follow. It's not Tarkovsky or it's not, like certain John Le Carré films. It's palatable enough to where you can follow it, but it's layered enough to where any cinephile could really sink their teeth into this and be like, I need 10 more watches. I can't. This is, and that's the intention too. I love cinema that can do that because then what's the point of something like from 1958 standing the test of time? You better hope it stands the fucking test of time if it's doing something deeper than just surface level. And I think Ashes and Diamonds has that in spades.
Absolutely.
Next week, we'll be talking about Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless.
I hope you come with a lot of breath, because you will
be breathless.
You'll be less.
Breathless is one of those films where, like, I remember trying to get into Jean-Luc Godard and the French New Wave and, like, failing miserably because I, like, went on Criterion and I was like, I'm going to search Godard and see which one just calls to me. And then I put the first one that calls to me and it's like 2 or 3 things I know about her. That's what the film's called. I gotta follow that shit for shit, man. Like, I couldn't do it. I got through 15 minutes of it. I'm like, do I need to start this thing again? What the fuck is this? What is he trying to say? What? I couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
And then I watched Breathless, and I'm like, oh, we start here. We got to start with Breathless, and then you make your way up, and then you start seeing other films, and it works. Like, just seeing other Godard films are pretty crazy, but when you start with Francois Truffaut's, like, The 400 Blows, when you start with Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, or you start with Agnes Varda or Jacques Demy's musicals, like, all right, let me ease my way into the French New Wave because it gets super fucking weird after a point, but it's such great cinema that cannot be ignored, and it starts with Breathless. Breathless is, like, one of the main ones to start with, so I'm excited to talk about Breathless.
Nice.
We'll be talking about that, and then we're going to close out our foreign month with our special guest, Chuck Horak, is going to be curating a film for us. He sent us a whole list, man, and it's, like, great, and it's just like...
Yeah, we got a sneak peek on what might
Which one of these is it going to be?
No,
and
we just got to find out what's going to be, but yeah.
But that's
Horak.
how we'll do foreign cinema. We can already start previewing. Next month, we'll be talking about the cinema of David Fincher. We're going to start kicking off into, like, our auteur month.
And whose pick was that?
That was Mr. Jean-Eric Oster's pick.
Dude right here.
Jean.
The dude.
But-
the dudester.
Yeah, very exciting situations. I think it's going to be a nice bridge into, like,
I think it's going to be like 5 months straight of auteurs.
yeah, after that,
yeah.
for
So-
sure.
How nice.
I think we've been previewing it like little tidbits, but it's going to be us exploring different auteurs and their filmography selected by each of us, with a special sprinkle coming in September.
Yeah, we don't want to. September, but we don't want to.
That's it. That's why I said
Yeah.
special sprinkle.
yeah.
Please
But-
go watch Ashes and Diamonds. Catch up on Breathless before next week's episode. And if you didn't catch Seven Samurai, go check that episode as well. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Let us know what you want us to watch and talk about. But please go watch these films. Ashes and Diamonds, I guarantee you.
It's a good one.
It's just such a terrific film, which stays up
And
there
if
for
you
me.
have
Very
watched
inspiring.
it, comment.
Yeah, let us know what you think about this film. You find it on the Criterion channel, or you can buy Blu-rays. But join us next week for Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. Thank you for tuning into the WatchTower Film Podcast. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
All right, everybody go Mimi's on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sexy, El Paso.
Mimi's?
Yeah, go Mimi's.
I want Mimi.
Just gave you some cinema ASMR. Good night, everybody.
See you